Greetings everyone, my name is Charles Kovashti, not safe for work presidential candidate campaigning for a more direct democracy. And in this video is my 100th video. 100 times, at least, of me staring into a camera and talking like a jackass. So, being that it's the 100th video and we have to do special things for all milestones, I figured I would talk about the policies that I believe in and other things outside of direct democracy. Because remember, ultimately, the thing that I'm pushing for is direct democracy. And the policies that I would like to see enacted, as far as myself is concerned, doesn't mean shit. Direct democracy means that all of you have a say over whether or not these things happen, and not just me. I just want to take a brief moment to point out about the UK elections yesterday, and how the Labour Party lost many seats. And this is ultimately the problem I have with electing representatives and having representatives just do all the things that they say they're going to do. Because you're not voting on issues. Most people vote on one issue, and many people get manipulated by falling into one candidate based on that one issue, because that candidate will say things that they like to hear. But when you vote on a politician, you're not voting on an issue. You're voting on a package deal for whatever good or bad that package deal is. And that is the fundamental problem with our governmental structure. And that is why I want a more direct democracy. Because all we have is one day a year where we get to say what we want to have happen. And if those choices aren't good, what can we really do about it? Besides doing what I'm doing, which is running for ourselves. The other 364 days a year, all we really get to do is bitch about the people that got voted in. Does that sound like democracy to you? Even in any sense? Why should it be a system of government where we have to decide between crap and crap? Because as we've seen in the elections recently, that's what's come up. Personally, I was hoping for Jill Stein to win the 2016 election, but even still. So this is why I think we need a more direct democracy. As I've said before, when the representatives that we elect want to do things like enact legislation to spy on all of us and wage wars that we don't want, that we can turn around without having to get the torches and the pitchforks, and just by natural process of the ballot, or by the polls, or referendum, or however we decide to do it, to say no, we don't want this. What can we do now? Send an angry tweet? Again, how is that democracy? So, yeah. Nothing's going to happen overnight. I don't expect anything to happen overnight. And once again, being president is not something I really aspire to be. It's just a means to actually enact a change. Because we can't just keep sitting here and letting all this stuff happen to us. We have to start taking on the mantle ourselves and be the ones to do to talking to each other. Not just a bunch of rich people talking with each other on how to screw us over. The ultimate control of the government needs to be put in the hands of the people. So, in the meantime, what are things that I'm for? Well, Andrew Yang wants to give everybody $1,000 a month. I put this question to Andrew Yang. How valuable is that $1,000 a month going to be when you have the Federal Reserve devaluing all the currency? When you use, as I've said before, when you use solid numbers like that, you don't account for things like inflation. And new legislation has to be drawn up every time to account for inflation, and that's not practical. Besides, giving everybody $1,000 a month may seem good. People want to work. They want their lives to have meaning. I want my life to have some meaning. I don't want to just sit and collect money. What the hell good is that? That's what rich people do, and they're completely fucking useless, most of them. People want to work. People want to have something to do. People want to be able to earn their keep. And granted, not everybody. It's still got that 90-10 rule. 10% of people are going to cause you 90% of your hardships. That's how our government's working right now. But that's why I say, rather than just giving everybody $1,000 a month, and rather than just wiping away the debt record and making college free, like Sanders wants to do, first off, we should wipe away the college debt record. It's complete horseshit, along with much other things of the banking industry. I can agree with Sanders on that. But not only have people go to college for free, or whatever higher education they want for free, but to give them a stipend as long as their job that they are currently engaged in is learning. With the age of automation already dawning and jobs going bye-bye, this is an investment into our future. You want to find a cure for cancer? Well, it might be a good idea to invest in people actually going to school and learning about cancer. Might be a good idea for things like research to be done publicly rather than private institutions seeking patents to create false scarcity. Elizabeth Warren wants to have a wealth tax. Okay, but again, using hard numbers to declare taxes. And a while ago, in a very early video, which is not on all of the platforms, it's only on YouTube right now, maybe I'll have to do it again, I proposed a tax equation that determines how much everybody makes, finds the mean, finds the standard deviation, and then uses that to create a gradual curve of what your tax rate would be. So if you make very little money, you pay very little taxes. If you make an obscene amount of money, you're going to be paying the most of your money in taxes. But the idea is that the tax rate automatically adjusts for inflation because it takes into account how much every single person has made. Every single able-bodied person, let's say. Because no one's an island. And we all gotta live together. And nobody makes money without the expense of something. And usually if people are making money, The more money somebody's making is the more expenditure of somebody else. And yes, I agree, personal responsibility does play a part in that, but personal responsibility also has its limits when you decide you're not going to educate everybody and then think that the world should be run by a few people because the masses aren't educated. See the bullshit? Cannabis. I still have yet to see a single hypothesis with any reason showing how cannabis is addictive or harmful. I can see, however, ways that cannabis is helpful. So I'd be hard pressed to be convinced that it was made illegal because of harmful effects. Yes, it does have side effects which are temporary. I've not seen any evidence of long-lasting effects that has sustained any merit. But what better way to push pharmaceuticals than to prevent people from growing their own healing medicine in their own homes, if they still have them? Renewable energy. Yes, we should use renewable energy. We should make sure that all of our interactions with the various biomes of this planet are sustainable and regenerative. However, with Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal legislation, shut up, computer. With that legislation nestled away in there, very bad thing. The whole idea of your personal home being controlled by an automated electrical grid. Not just your personal home, but various things in your personal home. Medicare for All. Yes, we should have medical care for everybody. I don't know why this is an issue. If you're not paying for people in one way, you're going to be paying for people in another. We can see this in the educational system. People who are poorly educated because their schools are underfunded wind up costing the economy a lot more money later on because they're in jail. Why are they in jail? Well, maybe they've just been shit on their entire lives. Probably because of the color of their skin. So the same thing goes with medicine. If you decide that you want to not see a doctor, or you don't want people to see a doctor, guess what? That affects, it's going to come around and affect you later on because the bodies are going to start piling up. And I'm not going to clean them up when you could have helped them. I mean, I'll help them, but I'm going to turn around to you who didn't help them and say, time to pay up. Which I'm pretty sure is the sentiment of a lot of people in this country. I mean, again, you know, going back to the wealth tax, like I said, people are going to ask, well, if people are going to ask how we pay for these things, I've said before, let's start by taking back all the money that the rich have swindled, drifted, and stolen from us over the decades. But ultimately, many of these things are things that pay for themselves. And they are things that we can pay for rather than paying for corporations to not do these things, like education and healthcare and otherwise. But my problem with Bernie Sanders' Medicare For All bill, as I've said before, is the money still goes to private hands. I go around this state and I see the same three words, Robert Wood Johnson. Granted, I don't travel all over the state because, besides being poor, I don't have a reason to. But you still have the money going to private hospitals. And need I remind you about hospital, what was it, hospital, I think in Baltimore, that decided, oh, we're not going to give any more prenatal care. So an entire community of black people, of black women, got screwed. So that's my problem with Sanders' Medicare for All. And that's why I want municipal controlled hospitals owned by local governments, local municipalities, so that they can be held accountable for everything. No more of this whole thing we have with the government getting out of the way of corporations screwing you over, because that's what it's always really been about. It's a lot easier to go after your government for screwing you over than it is for a corporation for screwing you over. I know it seems not likely, but for corporations screwing you over, you have to go after two people. Corporation, the government that allowed it to happen. Net neutrality. I don't know why this is an issue. Everybody wants this. I don't think I need to really say anything else on it, except for I'm in favor of municipal broadband and subsidizing that. Yes, again, more government, more control, bad thing. But you have to remember, the government is a tool. Who wields that tool is the issue, which is why I'm running for more direct democracy, and hopefully we'll develop a better ability to speak. What else? Oh, war. Tulsi Gabbard wants to remove us from these regime change wars. I want to remove us from these countries. How many bases do we have around this planet? The United States is an imperialist nation. And I don't think anybody, or at least the majority of the people in this country, want it to be that. And, you know, for all those people that complain about immigrants crossing the border and whatnot, well, wouldn't really have a problem with immigration if we weren't bombing the shit out of every other country and strip mining them for all the resources, killing off all the people. Let's go to the root of the problem. So, I think that's it as far as things that I support and the ways in which I support them and why I support them. So one thing about the presidency is who would be vice president and so forth. I don't know who would be vice president. I've thought about cabinet positions. I would say probably Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. Again, can't talk. Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson as the Secretary of State. Bill Black, Secretary of Treasury. Chelsea Manning, Secretary of Defense. Notice a pattern here. Oh yeah. Speaking of which, I would also do everything I could to free Assange and get him the care he needs, and to bring Edward Snowden back home as a hero instead of a criminal. Yeah. One thing, in case you're wondering, you might be wondering why I call myself the not safe for work president, or presidential candidate. It's not because I swear like a sailor, because I used to be one. It's mainly because the workplace. As people much smarter than me have said before, we've traded the monarchy of our government for a monarchy in the workplace. And that's one thing that needs to change. I'm more in favor of worker co-ops and workers' rights and actual effective unions and so forth. Just wanted to make sure I get that in there. Is there anything else? Yes, getting to know what's in your food. I mean, really all the common sense shit. It's really all the stuff that we as people have been bitching about. And again, ultimately, the things I want and the things I believe in don't matter. Because that's not what a direct democracy is about. It's about what you, the people, want. What you, the people, believe in. What you, the people, can talk about and negotiate amongst each other and decide how you want this world to be going forward. And if this concept of direct democracy, I swear one day I'll be able to speak better. Not really. But if this concept of direct democracy interests you, then I urge you to inform others about this idea, this campaign. Thanks for your time.